guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Ellie Jńe, and today I'm going to actually go through the Cricut design space and basically show or share with you some of the tips that I've learned when cutting material. So I have a Craft Mart 12 by 12 paper, and I'm going to show you exactly what this paper ends up looking like after each cut. That way you would kind of have a quick guide to know what to use and how to use it. A lot of the other YouTubers on here do a great job of also showing you, but I know that there's some gray areas when you're following those instructions of like, well, what does this button do? What does that button do? And then a lot of us too get a Cricut Maker and then strictly go and find SVG files and not realize what we can do for ourselves. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started really fast. By choosing a square. Now there's many different shapes that you can utilize and play with and add and subtract from. Just know that whenever you select any one of these shapes that you can be able to utilize this size section up here in the top section area with the width and the height of every shape that you use. So you can see that it turns into a rectangle, long, wide. Then of course you have your circle where you can play and unlock this button here, and you can have it turn it into an oval, or you can turn it into, you know, really small little dot. Then you have, things like your star and your diamond and hexagon, and I think it's really worth playing around and showing you guys, how it kind of, does whatever you need it to do, and there's flexibility to your creative mind around it. So definitely play around with these shapes, and if you're a crafter and you just want to try a different or new thing, this is where you would play with, versus just getting someone's SVG and then taking it for what it is. But for the most part, I really like this function tool and how easily it is able to kind of like move around to your desire. And then you can get really specific here and put whatever number you want. So I'm going to unlock this and I'm going to put 8 by 8 because that's usually what I like to scrapbook with a smaller page. So I'm just going to be in a square, and then I'll play around with the shapes on the inside. So let's talk about this first layer. So this first layer could act as many different or serve as many different functions. Because I have a 12 by 12 paper, it could easily cut 8 by 8 within this paper. Now if I have an 8 by 8 paper, more than likely it's not going to be able to cut around it, and you're just making incisions within your Cricut mat. Not a good idea. I want as least amount of incisions as possible, but yeah, 8 by 8 usually is as long as it's smaller than the actual paper itself, then it will be able to cut. The closer you get to the rims of your 12 by 12 project or mat, if you get closer to like 11.5 by 11.5, most likely the Cricut Maker doesn't want you to make a project that big. So most projects usually, kind of sit, if you're doing anything with a lot of detail where it's stacked or cut within a shape, they try to get you to attach all of your products within like a 9 by 6. That's a good rule of thumb, and there's like a little bit bigger options out there in different Cricut Maker crafters could be able to show you that, but for the most part we're just going to stick with this 8 by 8, and I just want to show you kind of what it does. So we have our initial square, and I'm going to actually use this not only to do a basic cut, but I'm also going to use this as like the page to show, okay, where am I going to place each one of my products. What I love about the Cricut design space is that it gives you the option to have multiple colors, and every color that it has, and I think there is, 4 by 7, so there's like 24 different colors, and then you can advance it and add as many more colors as you need. But what I like about this space is that every color means, or every new color means a new layer, and then a new page as well. So primarily, even if you attach, say I have these two squares together and I attach these together, more than likely it's going to still print on, when I press make it, it's still going to print on its own page, right? So they're saying give us a page for this cut and give us a page for this cutout right here. Or you can use the same type of paper, but no matter what, it's only telling you this is as much as we can print, cut on this actual Cricut Maker. And we want to cancel that. Yes, I went way too far. So we're going to go back. A way to be able to get both of these, what was it, cutouts, because both of these are 8x8s. I just copied and pasted it. The way that you can get them both on the same actual page is if you color this sheet like this as the same color, and then you attach it, and you go to make it, and then you can try to do it, see, with a 12x24 mat, and it does it by itself. And if it's too big, of course you would not be able to progress to this screen, but for the most part this tells you that you need a larger mat. The regular 12x12 mat will not do, but your 12x24 mat will be able to catch both of these same papers in the same on the same sheet, right? And if you have, and I'm gonna press OK, and if you have like a consistent sheet of paper, you can be able to cut it like this, a 12x24 sheet of paper. And if you do not, you could put the same sheet of paper on this 12x24 mat. And I want to make sure, okay, I can't, yeah, I can make it smaller. So what you can do is, say that I have a 12x12, see, 0 to 12x12 here. You know, I can't, because it's attached, I can't put it anywhere else on the sheet but together. So I would have to put the two sheets of paper that are 12x12, like right on that 12x12 mark, and that's probably going to be able to cut on two sheets of paper. But if I cancel and I detach down here and I press make it, you can still go to 12x24 here. And see, it allows you to cut on a 12x24 mat, and you have room to actually say where you would want to cut it. I generally like to cut where it doesn't waste any paper, so I give it a little bit of room. So if I have other crafting projects, I can be able to utilize the remaining space. Or if you have like a 12x12, you can put the 12x12 paper down all the way here. 12x12 here, and then you could put this other cutout up here, and then you'll get some great room here to where you know for sure that they're not going to cut this shape out right at the line where you know the paper meets and there might be a break. So we have that first part down. What I basically just showed you was just a simple basic square cut, and I'm going to change the color. Now if I change the color here and I attach it, it's going to make it one color because it's attached, right? So let me undo that again. See, I changed it to white. I tried to attach it, and it's like, nope, it has to be the same color in order for it to cut off on the same page. So let's talk about layering, and I'm gonna detach this. So whenever you are layering your sheets of paper, you want to make sure that it is cut in different colors. If you do want like the same size and you want to layer it that way, but if you want something smaller, and I'm going to make this a 7.5, and I'm going to align it, and I was like, okay, you know, let me align it like this. You know, I like the kind of layered look here. What you would normally do is not ever attach it, just go straight to make it, and it will actually tell you to load the different papers. So this is a slightly smaller, see, it's 7.5, and this one is actually 8. So you basically load the first Cricut mat and make it, you know, make sure that your paper lines up with this 11x12 so it doesn't cut out this square and you know, your sheet of paper is all the way over here and you might be, you know, not getting the size you require. So you do want to make sure your paper aligns on your mat. Also, say that you do have like this little piece right here out and you already, you know, place your paper on your Cricut mat and you're just like, hey, I need this square to be somewhere else. You have the freedom to move your square or whatever shape you have to a different part of the screen, like down here. And then if you have like a really crazy or funky cutout and you just want to really salvage this sheet, you can also kind of swivel, you see this shape within bounds for it to cut as well. And just make sure you look at the grid lines of where this, wherever your sheet of paper, and I think I have a good example. Like this piece of paper right here, I would possibly be able to get a good, I don't know, 4-inch circle, 3 or 4 inch circle within this paper. I would end up having to go over here and place this piece of paper on the mat so I can know exactly where the grid lines fall within this paper to be able to cut out the circle or whatever shape I desire, right? And if I have it just a little off, right, of the grid lines of where I suspect it has paper here, I'm going to get a cutout with some of these letters here, and that's not what I'm looking for because I want a clean cutout. So as you can see, this is like a great function that Cricut provides for your cutout. Let's cancel and go backwards. But nonetheless, you'll get 2 separate sheets of paper. Again, you can load your Cricut mat with the same color paper if you want to and still get that layered look if you want, or you can do 2 different colors. It's just basically telling you that there's not enough room on that piece of paper to be able to make those two different shapes. And if this is a smaller shape and you want it on the same piece of paper, make sure that it's the same color. Okay, so we're going to take this back to being, let's go back. We're going to take this back to being an 8x8. And we're going to start layering now that we know what layering looks like or how to do it. And I'm just going to set up a little scene here. Let's see. We're going to make this, we're going to go with, what are we going to go with? We're going to go with blue, with the grays. Why not? I don't know. Let's do blue. Okay, so I use darkest blue at the bottom and I get lighter as I get closer to me because that just helps me see depth. But you can use whatever shade of the color you want based upon the paper that you have. What I find easiest is to make paper clips with color codes on it here, from the color code here or whatever advanced colors you have. I use washi tape and a paper clip, and I put the color of each color code here on the actual paper clip from the washi tape, and then I attach it to the paper that I want to layer it with. And I'm going to show you a great example of what I mean. So okay, you see that there's blue. I'm telling the machine that I want it to be the second, at this point it's the third, and then the fourth layer, it's going to have another sheet of paper that's going to be a lighter blue, and then we're going to do smaller, and I'm just guesstimating, and I'm going to have this the lightest blue, right? So I want my cutout to look like this, right? So what I would do here is really know that every color means a new sheet of paper. And I have 5 different sheets of paper within my pad here. And then let me actually take it out. So I have a white, a dark pink, a red, a light pink, like a really light pink. And then I'm also going to use black as well. Okay, so what we do with these different sheets of paper here, we're going to load this on the Cricut mat, and I'm going to show you what the cutout actually looks like in a little bit, but I do want you to keep in mind some things that happen. So if you attach all of these, I want to show you what happens to your Cricut machine. It changes all the colors, and all you need to do is press back and do not attach, and just go ahead and click make it, and making sure that it's within the 12 by 12 range, and it'll cut anything as long as it's in the 12 by 12 range. So as you can see, it took the base, which is white, there you go, and then it took the layer on top of that. Then it has this lighter blue, medium blue, and then the darker blue, right, which is the bigger square on the 12 by 12 mat, which indicates 5 different colors. So what I would do is take my different sheets of paper, and I'll show you how I organize it off screen. Okay, so I know that I only have 4 pieces of paper, but there are 5 layers on the computer. I'm just going to take my paper clips and add each paper that I do want to cut out with my Cricut machine, and put them in respective of what I see on my screen. You can use the colors that match your Cricut machine or Cricut's Cricut Design Space, but this works as well. Okay, so I'm getting my Cricut mat together, and I kind of want to talk about the cutting process with the Cricut mat as well, because it's definitely important. And I'm going to use this Cricut mat in another example within this video as well. But as you can see that there's masking tape and there's washi tape, right? Washi tape is good for basically knowing which papers that you need. This is washi tape, which papers you need to cut with, but it's not going to hold down on a mat that actually is worn and not as sticky. More of painter's tape is one of those better tapes to be able to use on I would say cardstock paper, but you want to make sure that before you actually put the paper down, if you need the whole piece of paper, do not use the painter's tape, simply because it's going to actually rip up the paper like it did here. You see that? Because I don't need the corners of this piece of paper, I don't mind, but you want to be mindful. And if you use washi tape, it's just really not as strong adhesive. So the point of the tape that you choose, which is this painter's tape, it's that it holds the paper in place, or whatever material you put on this actual Cricut mat, and it's actually pretty forgiving on the mat, and it'll lift up. So one thing that you see about my mat as well, I have done a lot of work on this mat, and there's a lot of like little pieces of paper like this stuck to it. There's a lot of cut marks, but it's fairly sticky. And the thing that actually helps you the most is one of these, a brayer. The brayer is very important because it reactivates the sticky part of your actual project. So anyway, I want to talk about applying your paper to the mat. So here I just lined up the paper to the mat in respective to left to right versus right to left. This paper also has holes in it, right? So you can put it up here, right? Even though it has holes in it, you would just need to move your project down right before you start to select the paper for the Cricut Maker. But because I want it as simple as possible and out of the way as possible, I put the cut side down or furthest away from the starting point in the top left. And I make sure that this paper aligns very well. And I'm removing the actual washi tape marker that I have that's black. I'm using my brayer to adhere it to the mat. And even though it is, you know, clinging to the mat, it might not be enough if it's one of those old mats. And this is just a really old trick, but I just wanted to give a rhyme and a reason to it. You still want to use masking tape. And what I've noticed is if you use masking tape just on the corners like here, as it's cutting in the middle, it can actually move your project around. So it might be the most beneficial to put it in the middle of your project as well. And then of course, make sure you get all 4 corners. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare my mat, and then I'm going to show you what the cuts come out to be. Actually, before that, I'm going to show you back on the machine or the design space how to maneuver the shape, because remember, the cutout is down here, and I'm going to show you how you can maneuver your project to be able to align that project with what we're doing or what we're trying to do, so it doesn't snag in this area. Also, please take in consideration too, this project from 9 to 12, this is in from 9 to 12 and 5, I would even say 3 inches to 9 inches, that's where this project is. So you want to keep that in mind. This little area is where you do not want to cut with this with the project that we're doing, or what I'm doing. But if you have a clean sheet of paper, you don't have to worry about it. You can cut it wherever you like. I just like to cut where I know that there will be a remaining piece of paper for me to extend a project somewhere else if I'm not going to use the rest of the paper for this project. Okay, so when you're uploading your Cricut machine, the first thing you want to make sure is that it is on and it's asking you to load. And I'm going to actually swivel this a little bit more over. Then after you realize that your machine is on and it's connected and plugged in, all that kind of good stuff, you want to make sure that you have the right proper tool within your machine ready to go. Okay, so since we have prepped the mat, I'm going to actually add the mat in, and I always do the pointed side forward, but you can actually flip it on the other side. But this tool right here reads the mat, so you want to make sure that it goes in straight, and yeah, you don't have any sticky parts from your tape like open, because these little rollers will definitely adhere and mess up your entire piece of paper, and you got to start over. So anyway, it's asking us to load it up. And as you can see, you know, there's a little lift here, but because I have it taped to the sides, I believe this should be fine. And then all you have to do is press the type of paper you want, and we're gonna press Cricut in a minute. So we're gonna press make it. This is gonna be a very long tutorial, but it's okay. So as you can see, we have the 5 different mats that I showed you earlier. And remember, I told you that with my paper, it is absolutely cut out in this section of 9 inches by 3 through 10 inches. So right in this area, I would say from here to here, this square cannot go in this area. So we're going to keep this up, but I usually take my cutout that I want and make sure that it has some space away from this corner here. I just kind of bring it down because I do have washi tape, painter's tape in all corners, and then I also have it at the top of this sheet, and I don't want my cutting tool to actually get into the tape, or else that knife is going to be sticky, clunky, and it's going to be kind of like a pain to clean. So this is what I chose for this particular cutout. All the rest of the papers that I have are full sheets of paper, but you know, make sure that you utilize this tool. The other thing that it shows, it says move object, hide, and hide the selected. So if I didn't want to cut this, I can move this out of the way, or if I go back, hold on. If I go back and press make it again, probably did that the wrong way. And I move this down just a little bit. Say that there's 2 of the same color in here, and you only want to cut one out because you made a mistake and all that type of good stuff. You can either hide it with this button as well. So, and then this just allows you to kind of rotate your cutout, just in case you have some like weird, you know, gaps in your paper, or you just want it cut out that way. You know, it's your world. You can cut it out however you want it. So anywho, I am going to go ahead and press continue, and I'm looking to have my machine connected at the top. And because I have the cardstock that I have from the cardstock booklet, I'm going to select cardstock for intricate cuts, because it's a little bit more kinder than the heavier cardstock where it would actually drag your paper and the cut is awful. So you do want to make sure that the paper you choose to cut aligns with the base material that they have within their selection. But for me, and what I have today, I have a cardstock for intricate cuts, and then I press more for pressure, because sometimes as your actual knife begins to dull, it'll be, you know, you need a little bit more pressure to get that precision and then ultimately change out your cutting tool. So it's asking for the fine point blade here. If I had any other type of cutout or anything to add here, it would show the different tools that I need, but I am just talking about a basic cut, so it's asking for the fine point blade that comes within the box of the Cricut Maker. So now it's going to wait for me to really press the flash button and see what we get, and watch your machine as much as you can. Okay, so we set up the machine according to the type of paper we have. Now it's time to go ahead and press the blinking button, and I'm just going to zoom in. Oops, right here. And I don't know if it made it worse, but that blinking button lets you know that it's ready to move forward, and it would actually take no action until they know that the setup is together and you have the right tool. So we're going to go back. And I'm going to press the Cricut button. Alright, this cut is complete, and I just ejected it. And then you can tell if the project is complete if you can be able to kind of lift the project. And I just kind of tuck the side down on the left here, and it comes up like this. And as you can see, this Cricut machine cut through the painter's tape, so I'm going to end up having to clean the blade whenever it's time, but I want to show that. So yeah, but for the most part we have our perfect 7.5 by 7.5 square, and we're going to finish making the rest of this project. Okay, so as you can see, I'm going to show a screen of what my actual mat looks like, and I just cut off the third basic cut of a square, and I realized the back of this sheet is white, and I wanted my, one of my bigger squares that are on the top layer to be white. So hey, I'm going to show you how with this machine, how I do not untape the actual machine, the actual piece of paper, but I'm going to move around this square and basically make sure that I don't cut on top of the what do you call it, the shape that I've already cut out. So the shape that it shows where it cut out is between 0 and 4 inches. And I have to make sure that it's at least to the right of 0 and 4 inches. So I'm going to put it right here at 5. And again, I hate having any waste, so I'm going to put it at 5.5. And then I'm going to also show you what the cut would look like if I did not adhere to these rules, and you'll know what that mistake looks like as well. So we're going to do this one the right way, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like the wrong way. Okay, as you can see here, I have already taken out the shape that I needed, and if it's right here in this spot right here, and the end of this cut that lets me know that it's the right size is, you know, right here. And this is the wrong way. So this was a right way of cutting it because it's within the actual boundaries of the paper to make sure that the dimensions are what they need to be. But I did not pull the shape off of the grid line, and it cut really, really close. And you know, this is potential to not have a precise project. So this is a wrong way to do it. So I'm also going to show you what it looks like if I do not move the square at all, and how it would show up on this mat that's already pre-cut with holes in it, and how you should actually push the project down and be mindful, and what would that look like if you did it wrong. Alright, so as you can see here, I basically just moved the mouse, or yeah, because the mouse was giving me problems, but I moved the square into the space where there's actual already cutouts that had happened on this sheet of paper, and I did not want to unmask the paper, right? And sometimes you just want to cut out another sheet because you see that there's more room. Whatever, you want to make sure that you bring it down to the bottom part of the paper and away from the grid line, so you don't get it on your washi tape if you are using excuse me, painter tape if you're using painter's tape. But as you can see, it gave me this cutout because I had it in the wrong space. I put it in between two cutouts from before, and it's still going to cut you a square, but it does not have the technology where it knows that the paper is there or not. So it's going to move forward and cut your project anyway. Okay, so the desired outcome is what we actually have already saved within our Cricut space, and we want to make sure that it matches as far as like how we have the build-up. And there's many different options of how you can adhere two pages together, but for the simple sake of this tutorial, I'm just showing you how the cutout process could be easy. And as you can tell from the actual Cricut design space, I had a black section, which was the base in the biggest part or the biggest page. Then I had a layered section that was white, so I had that on top of it, and it would fit just like this. And then I had the next cutout on top of this to be in the corner here, and just so I can show the tabs, I'm gonna have it here. And then I had the second biggest, well, the same size square, I just put it down here and cut it this way. And then the last square here, I went ahead and had it sit this way on top. And I can also play with this as well. I'm gonna put it like this. There we go. And this is what my different colors, 5 different color cards came out to it, and it looks just like the design space there. And you can either adhere it with some tape, you can sew this down, glue it, hot glue it. There's endless possibilities of how you can actually prepare this to actually be a page for scrapbooks. You can put pictures on top of this, you can turn it into flaps, you can turn it into pockets. There's so many different ways that you can go from these basic shapes and steps, and yeah, let's go ahead and get into what it would look like if we use the same pattern and we just made sure that all of the colors were the same and they did not have these different guides that we have down here. And I'll show you what that actually comes and turns out and looks like. Okay, so if we do not change any of these colors to a different color to show a new layer, I'm going to actually show you what it turns out to be, right? You could still change and get the same outcome if you keep, and I'm going to change it like this. If you have it on different, what was it, if you want to use the same color, you can still get layers and it'll come out like this on one sheet of paper. And I'm trying to do the same color, I just need to remember which ones I chose. There we go. And also you can change the color by doing this as well, right? If you select it all like that, you could change it whatever color you want it to be. Anyway, so we're going to press make it. So you're still able to cut out the various different shapes, see, according to what size could be able to fit on a Cricut mat. You can get a bigger Cricut mat, 12 by 24, excuse me, and then that could also fit all of the shapes if you can, right? And then if we go back and say, hey, you know, I just want this to be a cutout in various different shapes, you can just select all of these. And I'm going to do a brighter color so you can kind of see a little bit better with the black outlines. So what you would do is you would attach it. And once you attach it, you go to make it. And it's going to have a cutout that will cut the line here. So if you end up seeing a cut like this and you wanted layers like this, you probably did something wrong. Or if you see layers and not a cut like this, you probably did something wrong, right? So the difference between that is really color coding each layer. Color coding the layer will make you look like this. I used one sheet of white paper to show you with that one color what it would get you. Now, as you can see, each piece, you know, if I lift it up, I was going to transfer it to my table, but it might be a mess. Number one, I cut through the tape. That was not a bright idea after me teaching you guys not to do that. This is why, because it won't cut through the paper, but it will cut through the tape. See, the tape is cut perfectly, but not the actual paper. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to make here, and to close this actual video tutorial out, is that you would get more of a puzzle piece here. So it's not like a bad project, it's not a bad thing. The whole point of what this will give you is just like a perfect little puzzle piece to put together, and that could be another project that you do with another piece of paper or whatever type of material that you want to use. So you see how it just cut out the same thing as this, but it made this one flat, and it just has those intricate details, same intricate details as this one right here. So if you have any questions, comments about your cutting Cricut space, design space, please reach out to me and let me know, and I can help you out. Also, there's a lot of other great YouTubers as well that have some great details and techniques that you can learn from them. Definitely go check out my videos on like ways and techniques that you can learn from Cricut space and ideas. Anyway, I'm signing off, and I look forward to chatting with you guys soon. Bye.